gentleman voice. Editorial.
Cheerio and welcome to an editorial review of Captain America the Winter Soldier. So, there's really not much I can say in a non-spoiler way for this movie because, well, a lot of the interesting things that we really talk about involve spoilers. So, here's the quick rundown of things that I can talk about beforehand. First of all, introduction of the sidekick character Falcon. Well done. I mean, you get the chemistry at the very beginning and it works really well. I mean, the whole thing, it starts out and it's like, okay, well, I know I'm not as good as you, but hey, at least we can do this, we're going to have a bond, and that's great. It was well done, great chemistry there. The acting for everyone else was great also. Robert Redford, I was looking at him the whole time in the movie going, is that Robert Redford? And it was. So, hey, I'm glad he's still doing things like this because he's a great actor. He's great. I liked him in this role. It was really good. Basic story, can't talk about it, because if we talk about it, then it's going to be pretty much all spoiler ridden. So, one thing I will say, though, is that for a movie called The Winter Soldier is not in it all that much. It's like having a movie called The Lord of the Rings and then having the ring only in it for 5 minutes. It's kind of a misleading title. I mean, okay, it's exaggerated, of course, but the Winter Soldier, I think, should have been in it a lot more than he actually was. And there'll be more on him, actually, a little bit later in this review. Another thing is, the pace, for the most part, in the middle was fine. But getting there was a little bit tough. The beginning, that action scene, it's a good action scene. I enjoyed the action scene quite a bit. And then it goes slow as we deal with Steve Rogers, Captain America, trying to come to grips with the fact that he's in this time and it's not his usual time. He doesn't know where he fits in exactly. Which, for character development, yes, it was really good. It just went on for a bit too long. And that can also be said for the climax. The climax was really too long. I think if they took off 15 minutes of it, if they took off 15 minutes and made the movie 2 hours long, perfect. It would have been a perfect length. And I think that that would have been probably the best way in order to make the movie the right length. So that's the non-spoiler written part of this. Overall, before you leave, because I'm going to go into more detail soon, what you need to know is the movie, I enjoyed it. It was a really good movie, but for the most part, it was just a little bit long and then a little bit slow, and then the rest of it was really well done. The action scenes, pretty good. I mean, some of it, it's really up close in your face, so you can't really see everything, but you get the feeling of being punched. You get the feeling of all the action going on. It's really there, right up in your face, and it's really good that way. It just, there's a little bit of shaky cam too, but only at very key moments, and that's the way it needs to be done. If you do shaky cam throughout the entire movie, it's just ridiculous. You can't follow anything. And yeah, I mean, characters were great. I've never been a Marvel comic superhero person. I've actually never been a superhero fan really to begin with. So watching the Marvel movies now, watching the DC movies now, I'm enjoying it even though I haven't read the source material. So for that note, yeah, if you're not into superheroes, you might still enjoy this kind of a movie. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can say for spoilers. I enjoyed the movie a lot. It was really good. But now I need to talk about some other things in the movie. For example, talking more about the Winter Soldier. So the Winter Soldier, by the way, right here, spoilers now, spoilers. The Winter Soldier is actually Captain America's friend from the first movie who looked like he plummeted to his death, Bucky Barnes. And that wasn't too much of a surprise to me because when the movie was rumored to come out back in January or so, a channel on YouTube has this superhero origins thing, and they were talking, or supervillain in this case, they have superheroes and supervillains, the supervillain origins of the Winter Soldier. It's like, okay, well, let's take a look and see what kind of an opponent that Captain America is going to be up against, and then I got all the information I could possibly ever need. It's like, okay, well, not a surprise, but you know, I'm not going to complain about that. The guy still looks pretty badass. And he does. His costume is great in this movie. I love it. Some of it is a little bit more far-fetched in this movie. I mean, it's not... Okay, not far-fetched, but it's just a massive stretch. Where pretty much S.H.I.E.L.D. has been infiltrated by the remnants of Hydra from way back when, and pretty much their plan is to instill order forcibly by removing any obstacle in their way. And, okay, if you really want to do that, fine, I guess. I can buy that, but it's just everything that they did. They have the supercomputer in the movie for a brief bit, which actually is the mind of the scientist guy who was helping Red Skull in the first Captain America movie. It's like, okay. Huh. I guess that's fine. I mean, I don't see... it wasn't a massive part in the movie. It was just this little thing like, okay, so we have a computer with a guy's brain in it. That's interesting. Okay. Let me see, what else is there? Yeah, the climax really went on for way too long. They took out 15 minutes because pretty much there's the big... They get into S.H.I.E.L.D's building because it's been compromised, and they say, okay, here's what's going on. You can help me or you can get in the way. And everyone starts fighting amongst themselves about trying to decide if they're going to help Captain America or they're going to continue to stay the course and do the instill order by forcibly removing any threat imaginable. And, okay, that's fine. And then Captain America and Falcon. And Falcon's awesome in this movie. I never heard of him before this, but he was really awesome. He's got these wings and a jetpack sort of thing, so he's gliding and flying, so it looks really good. They have to get onto these hovercrafts that are going to be the source of destroying any threat. And Captain America gets onto one, that's fine. Falcon's flying around trying to get in, and it's like, okay, this is going on. And on. And on. He gets in, and then he does what he needs to do there. And then the third one, they're all trying to get onto that, and the Winter Soldier intervened, and they have their big fight. It's like, okay. The one thing about that also is the Winter Soldier, the fact that he is, of course, the best friend from way back when, means that Steve Rogers is going to be like, I don't want to kill him. Okay, I'm sorry. If my best friend, I'm sorry about this, my best friend, but if my best friend is threatening the safety of the world, you're going off a building. I'm throwing you. I'm going to throw you off the building. I'm going to do what needs to be done. Because it's just logic that if you have to sacrifice one life, no matter what, to save thousands, actually I think it was millions they're talking about, worldwide, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Okay, so there's that, and with the fact that his friend is the Winter Soldier, it means that he's reluctant to actually kill him, and actually even fight him, per se. And that means that there's a whole point where he's trying to convert his friend back from his mental state, because he gets brainwashed, and he's used as a super soldier who completes a mission, then he gets brainwashed and his memory's wiped, and then he's put back into cryogenic freeze until the next mission they need him for. Well, of course that means that the captain has to try to restore his memories so that way he's no longer the villain that he was. It's like, okay, well that's so cliched, but fine. But while that's going on, the fighting is still going. There's still more action going on elsewhere, and it's just too much action at this point. So the climax, I think, lasted for a good 35 minutes. I was looking at my watch because I was curious to see how long it really was going. It was a long time. So yeah, if you trim that down 10 to 15 minutes, it would have been a perfect length and it would have been great. Still with the cliched element with the best friend. Another thing that happens actually early on in the movie is Nick Fury dies. It's like, oh, okay, I'm really not too concerned for several reasons. One, there's a TV show on that is really tied to this Marvel series, and in that one they have Agent Coulson from the first Avengers, who if you saw that, then he was stabbed in the chest and he looked to die. Well, on the show, they show how he survived, and it's like, okay, they can do that to Nick Fury. He looks dead, they can still bring him back. And then in the case of him dying, like, okay, well, I'm also expecting that he's not really dead. He's not really dead. Even if they did go through with it, they could bring him back, but he's not dead. And no, he's not dead. He just looked like he was dead to fake everybody out. So it's just that kind of cliche thing where you know he's not dead. It's like you knew Loki wasn't dead at Thor 2, spoilers, but it's pretty obvious that he doesn't die. And it's just some things like that, but overall I enjoyed the movie a lot. It was really well done. The acting was great. The chemistry between the characters, especially Falcon and Captain America, really spot on. They really did a good job, and they didn't, although it looked like they dwelled for a bit early on with the whole what is Captain America about now, they didn't, it was well done dwelling, and it could have been a little bit faster. I wouldn't have complained then, but I understand why they did make it as slow as they did, and it did work, and the middle part made up for it, because the middle part is where all the action that is really good action is, and it's little spurts here and there, and that's exactly how it needs to be. In the Winter Soldier scenes, you can see in those fight scenes, that's pretty awesome choreography, what you can see of it, when it's not up close like this, so you can't see what's going on. So, I enjoyed the movie. I really did enjoy it. I think that it's a movie worth seeing on DVD. I don't know if it's one worth seeing in the theater again. But, for the most part, I'm happy to have seen it. Captain America Winter Soldier is really good. So, take a look at that if you're interested. If not, wait for it on DVD, or wait until whenever. Or never. That is entirely up to you. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Cheerio! And farewell.